I didn't go.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a break for guys. Once you're done hanging out, you know you're gonna see each other again, like in hours. You want your own room.
I just feel like the best memories always came from the hotel rooms. On
Always.
those trips.
Always.
Oh, I
It's
don't
like
doubt
the
that at
free
all.
games and like getting back and talking about the day and then like, at least for girls, being able to talk about girl stuff together in the room. It's literally the best time.
That's what girls and guys are totally different. I mean, Rich goes on vacation and gets his kids a different room.
That is true.
Okay, now I don't feel like Scott's so rude. You two are winners.
You two are so
Now,
good.
I don't want to go on any guys trip. Like the trip, I actually got like. Now this is where you get guys. So guys and girls are different that way, right? But like, I don't even want to go on a trip like what your husband went on. Like I was getting. I try to put myself every time everyone like tells a story. I try to go, what would I do if that happened to me? Like the anxiety. And I thought about your husband over the weekend, and I was like, I swear to God, I was like, God, the misery of me being on a golf trip right now. I was like, I couldn't handle that. Or being with 4, 5, 6 other guys doing something. I was like, this would be terrible. Meanwhile, I was just sitting on the sofa eating. I ate like 9 ice cream sandwiches in a row. But I was like I can't. That social part of it gets me so. Did anyone wear masks by the way when they're golfing? Did they do that? Probably not. Huh?
No,
You're
they
outside,
they
probably.
walk and they're outside. So
Right,
when
okay.
they're in the clubhouse, yes, they were required to wear masks.
But so the guys trip, I'm so over.
That's just you, though.
I know.
Yeah, that's you.
I know.
Like hanging out with guys, I'm fine. I just would like to go back to my own room because I think my brain works like to a point where I need to shut off the high energy.
Being
you know,
on.
at some point, being on, because you'd still be on in your hotel room.
Remember when I went to see Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
I was with my friend Ian, and he was like, "Hey, buddy, I'm staying at this hotel," and I was like, "I don't even want to be in the same hotel."
Oh my God!
I'm staying at another hotel. I don't want to just bump in and have any kind of casual conversation.
And that's your friend.
Yeah. I think that's it. I got
Well,
that
good
from
to
my
know.
dad. So anyway, Scott had a good time with I.
He had a good time despite his swollen eye. It's still swollen, so we'll see how long it takes.
Did his team win or no?
His team did not win. But he
Blame it
said
on
the
the
other
guy.
team was more serious, which you could see that leading up to. The other team did not come back with a cameo from it. Shooter McGavin.
Oh yeah.
They were more serious about the golf from the get-go.
Should we put? Will Scott let us put pictures of his eye on the website?
Yeah.
Like, is it? Will you look at it? Because does it make you laugh?
Yeah.
Alright, good. Kyle's husband Scott's eye will be up at johnjanerich.com.
John James.
So you're talking about your husband's golf trip, and who all went on the golf trip with your husband, Kyle?
So it was my brother-in-law, my brother, and then a couple of people my brother-in-law knows. And it's been a fun time, I think, for the guys. They've had a really good time. They were able to let loose for a lot of them. This is the first really big outing that they've been to, including my brother, who has asthma, so he's been very super cautious about COVID-19. And the golf courses and the golf clubs have been very strict, the ones that they go to at least, have been very strict about, their social distancing and who's allowed to sit where and everything like that. So over the weekend, while they were on the trip, it was my brother's birthday. And that day, they drank a lot on the golf course. And then afterwards, they went to dinner and they drank a lot. And then afterwards, they decided to keep going. So it was, as you can imagine, a little celebration for him. But the next morning, they had an 8 o'clock tea time. And apparently my brother thought it was 10 a.m. So he woke up to my brother-in-law pounding on his door. James, are you in there? You're gonna go, man. So my brother, James, wakes up and he's kind of out of it, obviously, because he thought he had 2 more hours to sleep. And he wakes up and he looks next to him and there is this incredibly bloody towel. And he's like, huh? He's like, what happened? And he's like checking himself out. And he's like, did I get shot? Like, it was a lot of blood. He's trying to figure it out and he notices this huge gash on his knee. And so he's trying to wake up and piece the day together and hurry to rush out the house. And as they're on their way to the tea time, he's remembering what had happened the night before on his way out of, I guess you could call it the bar. It's not really, it's like a restaurant that they were at. They were sitting by the fire, and on his way back to his room, which is at the place, he literally fell down 16 stairs from basically the second story of a building. all the way down the stairs. And he's like, oh yeah, I just remember falling down and like kind of being in pain, but sitting there and thinking to myself, like, what am I doing with my life? I'm 30 years old. Like just laying there. And I guess my brother-in-law, Scott, had gone back to the room because he can't hang, he can't drink that much. He's like, peace out, I'm out. But I guess my brother-in-law was like, dude, James, are you okay? He's like, just leave me here. It's totally had like that OS moment where it's like, what am I doing with my life? Like, am I not past this yet? But I'm like, you know what? You've been in quarantine. You were
It's your birthday.
You let loose, and quite honestly, you have to look at this glass half full. You fell down like 2 flights, like 2 stories of stairs, and all you have is a gash on your knee.
Pretty good.
Like, that's pretty amazing. I think the fact that he was wasted actually helped him.
He was
Relax on
numb.
your way down.
I didn't waste it, that, but to sit there and you just laying there and you just kind of go like, what am I doing? Like he's like, oh, he's in that position, right? Like people are like, and he's just like, what am I doing with my life? That is so funny. Poor guy.
It's like, on the bright side, he's gonna scrape on his knee. Well, I mean, it's kind of more of a gash, but he's, it could have been a lot worse.
Did he feel it afterwards? Was he sore?
That's what I was asking. I was like, was he like limping the next day or anything? Nope.
It was good.
So let's think about your OS moment. I had a kind of a similar thing like that. But Crystal, you have an OS moment.
I do. Oh my gosh, my OS moment was when I was at a T-Mobile store in Tucson and I was trying to get a phone and they told me I could, but with $1,000 deposit because my credit was so crappy. And it was honestly like during that time of my life, it was just kind of a cluster of things. It was like I went to Burger King I ordered up a dollar menu, and the guy didn't give me back my change, and I was like, no, I actually really need that.
Crystal, I can make you feel better. When I was on a date when I lived in San Diego, and I did not realize how bad my credit was. And I've never even heard of this besides me. I went to go buy a CD for this girl, a Prince CD. She's like, why not hear this Prince CD? I handed my credit card, and they made them destroy my credit card in front of me. The credit card's like, you don't own the credit card. We own the credit card. And your credit's so bad. So they took it up and cut it up in front of me.
Oh,
Oh my god, that's so embarrassing.
Reduced.
that hurt.
That is horrible credit.
Well, Crystal, thank you for sharing your OS moment. We hope your credit's better now.
Oh, it's much better. It's 180 in my life, 180.
That's good. So the positive came out of it.
So for me, mine was like it was somewhat like your brother's, but a little deeper. And I have the same thing every once in a while. And this, see if I can get the moment out the right way. Like, I'm a dad of 3 boys, right? And when I go sit in my hot tub, that's kind of where I meditate. I think about life. And I think sometimes, I go, oh, I can't believe I'm a dad, right? Because my brain, to me, is not the level. I think of my dad. And sometimes I think about my age and where my dad was at my age, and I think about where I am, and I think how old my dad was at certain things, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, he was just learning too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I think about things, and I go back in pictures, and I look at him at a certain age, and I remember looking up to him, and I'm like, oh my God, he was just figuring stuff out as a dad. And I'm figuring stuff out, and I know I'm nowhere near where he was. Do you know what I mean? And so I have these moments like, I don't think I'm ready to be a dad. And that's my OS. That's my OS moment. Like, what in God's name am I doing? Where am I getting my information, my wisdom from? And where did he get it from? And I'm nowhere near ready for any of this stuff that's happening to me. And that's when I have these OS moments, big time.
I had
That's what blows me away.
an OS moment when it came to drinking. Like there was one night where I was like, okay, that's it. I need to chill. This is not okay. And I don't remember the night, but from what Mr. Baby said, we were all hanging out at a friend's house and we were all drinking. And I guess I got so trashed that when that Mr. Baby was like, I need to take her home. We're leaving, guys. So we're walking out the house. And apparently Mr. Baby said that. I start running. I just take off. And I'm like sprinting down the street. And he's like, where are you going? And I ran myself in a car, like in a white sedan, and I fall to the floor, and I'm like,
Oh no,
I
you didn't get
tripped.
inside a car, you ran into a car?
I ran into a car.
And then you said you tripped.
What did you do?
Did you think you could like run over the car and then you fell and you tripped into the car?
I'm laying on the sidewalk, and I'm like, I tripped. And Mr. Baby runs up to me. He said, "You're stupid. Get up. You didn't trip. You just ran yourself in that car." So he gets me in the car. And we go home, and so he's telling me all this the next day, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm so annoying. He's like, yeah, you were annoying. And then we get a picture from our friend. Apparently, I ran myself in, like, on his car, and you can see a huge, like, mark of makeup on his hood. He's like, you left your face on my car. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
You'd be a horrible criminal.
Yeah. That was the last time I got that trashed.
Oh my god.
OS moment.
Well, share with us your OS moment. You can send it to us on Facebook, Instagram, or call us at 877-937-1047. It's Chante and Rich.
Not only do you need to know if they're cheating, you deserve to know the truth. War of the Roses, right now with John Jay and Rich.
Chante and Rich, time for War of the Roses.
They would befriend
So
these young
Josephine
girls
thinks someone in her
by
life is cheating.
asking
Who
them
is Josephine?
questions
Husband? Boyfriend?
about their lives, pretending to be taking an interest in them. They would take them to the movies and treat them to shopping trips. Maxwell would encourage these young girls to accept offers from Epstein to pay for their travel and their education, making these young victims feel indebted to Jeffrey Epstein.
Here with more, Bradley Edwards, who has represented more than 20 of Epstein's victims, detailing his journey for justice in the book Relentless Pursuit, My Fight for the Victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Let's be blunt, Bradley, this woman was Epstein's pimp. She trafficked children across state lines, she lured them, she enticed them, she engaged allegedly in sexual acts with these minors, with Jeffrey Epstein, sometimes even holding them against their will. This indictment, this is just from a small span in the 90s, but as you've detailed, she had a very long relationship with Epstein going into the deep 2000s. How wicked was this woman?
Well, I think people are going to now start realizing what I detailed in the book, which is that without Ghislaine Maxwell, there would not have been the monster Jeffrey Epstein. He could not have existed without her.
She kept his books. She engaged in a lot of the payments to the women, allegedly, and ran his entire affairs. And at this point, how can she be protected? Because we remember what happened to Jeffrey, the most famous person in federal custody at the time, commits suicide or he dies mysteriously in jail. We have someone like Prince Andrew who's got exposure here. We have politicians with exposure. We have celebrities, billionaires with exposure here. She knows everything. So is she going to make bail? Is she going to flee the country? Or do you think she's going to sing to the feds to save herself?
Would not have been the monster Jeffrey Epstein. He could not have existed without her.
She kept his books. She engaged in a lot of the payments to the women, allegedly, and ran his entire affairs. And at this point, how can she be protected? Because we remember what happened to Jeffrey, the most famous person in federal custody at the time, commits suicide or he dies mysteriously in jail. We have someone like Prince Andrew who's got exposure here. We have politicians with exposure. We have celebrities, billionaires with exposure here. She knows everything. So is she going to make bail? Is she going to flee the country? Or do you think she's going to sing to the feds to save herself?
I think that whatever information she knows, she's going to turn over. I just don't know that it's going to be enough to save her. You know, whatever information she has on anybody, it's not putting somebody else above her.
We have someone like Prince Andrew who's got exposure here. We have politicians with exposure. We have celebrities, billionaires with exposure here. She knows everything. So Is she going to make bail? Is she going to flee the country? Or do you think she's going to sing to the feds to save herself?
I think that whatever information she knows, she's going to turn over. I just don't know that it's going to be enough to save her. You know, whatever information she has on anybody, it's not putting somebody else above her in the organization. That's the problem that she's going to have. That's just a fact that she has to deal with. So I expect, as this investigation continues, that it gets expanded and that the indictment probably expands in time and substance. That's what I think we're going to see. Organization. So I expect, as this investigation continues, that it gets expanded and that the indictment probably expands in time and substance. That's what I think we're going to see.
Right, because as you said,
Really, that's also a fact. In terms of where it is and what it entails and what role it played in this, I can't talk about that.
Okay, so I'm going to assume from that answer that you're aware of things that are developing and you're not at liberty to say. I totally understand that. So who should be nervous right now? You know, I don't want to cast aspersions. We broke this with an author a couple weeks ago, Daniel Halper, who said that he had evidence, or he had heard from a source, that Bill Clinton was romantically involved with Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, we know Maxwell was in the plane with him. We know she was at the wedding to Chelsea. I'm not indicting the president, but besides him, who do you think would be nervous right now, in your professional opinion?
Well, the person that should be most nervous right now is obviously Ghislaine, and the fact that many people have been invited to provide the information that they know. People like Bill Clinton, people like Prince Andrew, and as of yet haven't provided that information.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Tony, what?
I can't go out.
I'm going to pound the lady.
Yeah, that's not our shit.
And here we're going to war with what could be considered the greatest military power at that time. Watching the Americans of Boston Heights relay. Our ship she like it. So when you have an American frigate that gets captured for the first time, and we're talking about the Shannon versus the Chesapeake, this was a big deal. The capture of the American frigate Chesapeake was celebrated in the theaters of London.
Fixing to call the police. Because I left something in there. I need to come out. I said, no, you don't. You can come back later. I said, Jill just called me, come in my room, told me to tell you I'm to leave.
seemed like he was really good man. And he was also lucky, I think, that a very short time into the conflict in 1812, and he was given the commander in Alexander.
They gotta go.
I told him.
Not anymore, but. And then, just stop it.
Hey, stop it. Hey, stop it.
He don't have a car. What's he gonna do?
Okay. So look at here's my deal. I will take you back if you tell me who gave you the STD.
And steal everything out of the shed.
No, they ain't. I'm keeping. I told them they gotta leave. That's why I have to call the police, huh? No, they ain't getting this stuff. I told him you had $60. Well, I didn't know they were here, but Sissy and AJ and... I ain't fucking scared of you, man. I know you stole my fucking car.
This is why they're coming to shut down these gyms. Because of Alex and Shalia. Alex from the first Broadway goes to Washington in late August. Let's make sure that gym stays closed. Find out what gym it is. Let us know what gym it is. Make sure. The American defenses are defeated. Let's put an extra 30 days on that gym. Extra 30 days.
What are we gonna do?
I'll make a show right now.
Burn Albert Washington to the ground. The White House ruins. The tragic fact is that the Americans burned more buildings than
Alright, I'll let you know what happens. Thanks. That's War of the Roses, Judge A. Rich. You just got XOXO. Oh, Alex is there again? Oh, he knows. You know Alex.
John Jay and Rich.
Hey, Emma.
Yes.
Okay. Before you tell everybody what you're on the air for, yesterday, there's all kinds of research that says that only 76% of us name all 50 states. If you looked at a map, without the hills. And I admit, I don't think I can name. I really have over 10. I don't think I really can name. Honestly.
I could do over
I'm
10.
scared of it, but I don't feel like fucking dealing with it. All I know is keep the fucking doors locked and anybody wants to come in or fucking knock like you're supposed to instead of just walking through the fucking door.
There was an old episode of Friends where they're trying to name all 50 states, and Joey came up with 56.
No, he was sitting out there at the table and I said, look, you guys need to leave. Jill just come in my room and told me to tell you I'll leave. And he goes, oh, I forgot that.
It's a stupid game and it wasn't playing against other people, so technically I can lose.
Forgot 14 states.
Nobody cares about the Dakotas.
Okay,
time's up.
I got 48. I'm not bad.
Joey. Say hello to Sheriff Chandler's double states game.
Fuck that bullshit, man. So don't fucking unlock the fucking door. Like I said, people just fucking, you know. They think they fucking own you.
What is it? I think it's the one my kids do, but my kids do all 50 states as well. Go ahead, what is it?
Ready? Okay, it's